Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm Ben. It's episode 216. I'm here with Lucy.
Hello for the not 216th time. We'll call it that. It makes math easier.
That's true. And we're here with Aadil.
Hey!
I like how we also just had a conversation about what episode number it was, and I still had to look at my piece of paper to know what it was.
The way it goes, right?
Yeah. So, today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a shorter run. If you're on Twitch watching us right now, we're going to do a little hour where the three of us are together to discuss whatever we want to for the next hour. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday, we're going to be back live streaming with Dave and Sean from Pillbug. If you're listening to this on the podcast version or on YouTube watching the video, they'll just appear after the first hour seamlessly, as if nothing is any different. Let's have a bit. I'm on a bit. Ah.
Go for it.
I know it has been a busy long day. I am going to drink a beer that has beaten Valve at its own game. This is a beer from Steam Machine. It is Odins Jam Jar. It's a Bilberry IPA with Mosaic and Hallertau Blanc. It's 5.5%. This says the elusive and delicious bilberry, found atop moors or in deep Scandinavian forests, provide an intense flavour that outmatches their American blueberry cousins. How best to celebrate this often forgotten fruit than in a smooth fruit shake IPA, hop charged with Mosaic and Hallertau Blanc. A beer for the Allfather in Valhalla. There we go.
Well, the Scandinavians know how to make preservatives. More than most.
All that Scandinavian jam everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good at it.
Lucy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from Kinnegar. It says Farmhouse Beers from Donegal. And this is the Saison, dry hop Saison. It's called Merrytiller.
Oh, what was that on the front? A little bit, I saw
It's
almost like a shrew.
I think it's rabbits trying to use a lawnmower and they're just wrecking the place. Let's have a look, see if it's got any flavour text. Ooh, okay, we've got some writing here. At Kinnegar we pair. I'm not trying to do an Irish accent. At Kinnegar we pair brewing tradition with a contemporary sense of adventure to produce clean, crisp, full flavoured beers. The brewery is named after the beach beside its birthplace, just north of Rathmullen in County Donegal, on Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way. Merrytiller is a sessionable farmhouse ale, dry hop to add a new world dimension to a classic old world style, traditionally enjoyed by farm workers in the busy summer season. It is 5%. Let's have a look. Can't see any specific hops on it though. Yeah, not much more than... Yeah. Nope. Nothing other than the classic hops, yeast and water and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a Saison in a while, so...
Yeah, I mean, it is...
It's summer, even though it's like pouring outside right now.
Is it?
It's still...
And thunder and lightning and everything, and hail.
It is super grey here as well. I feel like it's on the horizon, about to just thrash down. If I dart to my window, you know why. Aadil, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking the Dream Sequence by Yeastie Boys.
Oh. Haven't had a Yeastie Boys in ages.
Yeah, me neither. I thought I'd return to the pale. And by that I mean to the American brown. Because it's not a pale ale, it's an American brown ale. It's actually a collab between Yeastie Boys and Utopian, who are in Devon.
Nice.
And it is a dark orange cocoa happy. That's the like tag words.
Lovely.
Having some focus problems. Yep. Lovely little can. Cyclist, Dream Sequence, Yeastie Boys, 4.8%, American Brown Ale.
Nice. So this, what was it? Bilberry IPA, Odin's Jam Jam. It is super kind of beetroot in colour.
Oh wow!
I mean, looks a lot darker, maybe a little bit of a brown hint to it on the camera, but actually,
purple,
it is. It's very purple. It's kind of not quite Ribena. It's got a little bit more of a red hint to it than Ribena, but yeah, absolutely insane. I mean, you could probably tell from the can. So I mean, that was crazy purple too. So came out very carbonated, and it had maybe about an inch of head when I poured, which has disappeared really quickly. It's got a really sharp nose to it. Bit of bilberry, I suppose. Ooh, what did that say it was? A fruit shake IPA. Now, I am drinking this right on its best before June 2020. It says
Right.
I managed to pick up a couple. I still haven't had a beer delivery. I haven't been able to go anywhere. Managed to pick up a couple of beers from a Londis. So there was like 5. This was one of them. The flavour to it, I don't know whether it's kind of because it's reaching its end date, its best before, but it's got this sort of very acidic kind of backbone to it. Almost like there's the fruits are coming in, there's a little bit of sourness as well, but there's this level of sort of acidity to it, almost just this pallid kind of taste
like
in there as well. A little. It's not quite there, but it is getting there, definitely.
Yeah.
I know they called it a fruit shake IPA. That's what I was looking for. I think. Yeah, fruit shake IPA.
That of All Stars probably wouldn't last a long time.
Yeah, and it says a smooth fruit shake IPA. I think this beer is gone.
Oh, shame.
Oh, that's a shame. Usually you can squeak by, like a month or so past. Like they build in some headroom. So it's a shame that it feels like it's not there.
I mean, I'm getting a little bit of sort of sweet fruits, sweet blueberry, bilberry, even. Keep saying blueberry, bilberry. Getting a little bit of that in there. There is a nice sort of sharpness to it as well, which you'd kind of expect with a fruit IPA. But there's just that undercurrent is just too much. It just overcomes everything else, and those flavours are sort of just pushed out. I keep sipping it just to make sure that it isn't any good to drink. I'm going to drink all of it just to double check that it isn't any good.
Just to be entirely sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, you bought it, drink it. It's not going to kill you. May not taste great, but it won't kill you.
No, and the kind of the more I drink, that initial flavour, that kind of vinegary nature to it, does die down a little bit, but it's not as strong, but it lasts a little bit longer. So. Whilst you describe your beer, Lucy, I might run and get another one from the fridge.
Okay. Good idea.
I'll be back.
Hey.
Yeah, it's poured. It's not quite clear. It's a little bit hazy, but yeah, like really light,
like golden
coloured.
Oh yeah.
It looks a bit golden from your side, but yeah, it's really light, like almost urine kind of colour on this end. Poured nice, like foamy, probably 2-finger white head. On the aroma, you're just getting that like zestiness, bit of lime, bit of that pepperiness that you get from saisons, a bit of fruit. Yeah, and like that yeasty, estery kind of like Belgian yeast kind of smell as well.
Right.
Which is nice. It's just like, I haven't had a saison in so long. Just having those aromas, it's just nice.
Sounds like it. Oh, I think it's a yonder coming from yonder.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Ooh, that's nice though. Ooh, that's really nice. Nice and crisp at the start and at the end, but it's got nice and like a nice creamy fullness to it as well, which is nice. I don't know if that's from like the remaining head. It's sitting there. It's still there. It's quite foamy, but it brings balance to that kind of like really crisp, not tart, but like sharp, like kind of edge to it. But yeah, you're definitely getting like, you know, those Belgian yeasty, estery kind of flavours as well.
Nice.
Yeah, this is like typical farmhouse saison. It's really nice. Like, then if that is a yonder beer, like they do a lot of nice like farmhouse ales, and I mean, this is up there with like some of the yonder beers I've had as well. Oh yeah, the golden casket. I've had that on this pod. Yeah,
You have, which is why I didn't pick it for tonight.
But
So,
choosing and
that was
begging.
a long time ago. Yeah, but yeah, this is a really good saison.
Nice.
Yeah,
Great.
it is.
Adel, how about you then?
So the nose is definitely that cacao. Actually, looking at the ingredients, they say water, malted barley, hops, and cacao husk and yeast. I'm getting a bit of that orange, dark orange as well, like a bit of a Terry's dark chocolate orange.
Oh yeah.
Sort of like that, or you know, like the fancy dark chocolate and orange. You can tell what side of the street I grew up on.
The quality street.
Yeah. Hey, you're not wrong. Actually, you're kind of wrong because a lot of Christmases it was the knockoff quality streets you could get in Canada. The not so the low quality streets, as
Like
I call them.
All Right Road or something like that.
Yeah. But I'm actually curious, given what I know about coffee, if those citrus notes are just from the cacao husk. Rather than, because the ingredients don't say they added anything, but you definitely get, like I said, a deep, low-key orangey citrus off the nose and the taste. It's thin, but it feels like it should be velvety. Like the actual texture is quite wet. It's a brown ale. I just focus on that. I'm like, yep, this is but it's such a rich taste, and you've got this lovely head on it that it just makes me feel like I'm drinking something more boisterous, more velvety than I actually am. Like the taste is so in that cacao chocolatey corner that I just think it's like my brain is like, oh yeah, this is kind of like maybe a little portery. It's like, it's not. It's just really rich.
Yeah.
Again, not in your face. It's just doing all those things that you sort of expect from a darker beer, despite it being clearly a brown ale. Like you can tell when you focus on it's a brown ale. It finishes a bit sweet, but not alcoholic sweet. Again, it's 4.8%, but just a little sweet. Again, I think maybe that's the happy in the tagline. Well, it's really good. It's light, not quite as sweet as a tangerine, but slightly. It's like a low-key navel orange, but a little sweeter, like that peak sweetness in a way that an orange usually doesn't. So light citrus. I mean, the bottom is like it's like this dark cocoa.
Base.
The cacao base, yeah, on top of a brown ale, and that's what gives it this more rich sort of stout, portery taste. And then underneath is just this medium navel orange that sort of it all swings a bit sweet at the end. You could easily sip this. I think the most interesting part might be just the end of the taste and then the finish. Which means I could sort of luxuriate in the finish, or I could chase that transfer. It's really good beer. I'm glad, given this is a one beer record, I'm glad I picked this one.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad everyone has good beers. I'll talk about the Yonder at the end of the episode, I think. But it's going down very well. I did double check the date on it as I pulled it out of the fridge. The date on it is next month, so it's got a good. Well, it's actually the 7th of the 7th, 2020. So it's got a good couple of weeks on it, yeah, until it's best before.
I like the way you skate by.
Sometimes needs must. Let's jump into some games this week. I kind of wanted to start off just by posing a little question to everybody.
Camera's really acting up.
Yeah, it is. You've gone all sort of fuzzy and...
It just keeps on focusing, and I tried to... I don't know if you noticed, I tried to, like, open up the software to fix it, and it went all wiggy, and when I clicked away, I accidentally clicked to a different scene in OBS, which is why about 5 minutes ago, we lost our faces. Apologies. So I'm just gonna deal with it. Sorry if I'm progressively more drunk looking, as if the camera was my point of view.
Hey, it's just like a normal episode. More drunk looking, it's fine. So yes, a question for everybody. This is coming from me playing Call of Duty World War II. Free PlayStation Plus games this month.
Oh,
and I wasn't interested in it when it came out. I played a little bit of the beta, the multiplayer beta. What was that, like maybe 6 months before it released, and I didn't like kind of the speed of it. I didn't like the maps. I really was put off by the game, and that did put me off picking it up. Having that experience, thinking this just isn't for me this time. I'm not going to buy it. However, I'm enjoying the campaign. I think that slower pace and a single player experience is much better than in a multiplayer experience on tight maps. Now this is nicely flowing. We're moving between different sort of set scenes and little bits of and set pieces, breaking up some of the action. There's a storyline to it. The cutscenes in between these chapters look really good, and they've gone for a really good sort of cinematography from kind of like war films, World War II films and stuff. So everything, it looks really good and sets the scene really well. And I wondered to both of you, is there anything that you have tried, anything you've maybe played in a demo of, or a quick game of multiplayer on something that really put you off a game that you then I was going to say that you then returned to and enjoyed?
I enjoyed the single player in Titanfall 2. I didn't like any of the changes they made to the multiplayer, so I just didn't play it.
Yeah,
and the beta really put me off, because I was like a day one. Like, I loved Titanfall, the original one. Put like 300 hours into it, but after playing the multiplayer beta for the second one, I was like, you've made the changes that seem, like the ones that you needed to make on paper and flesh out the game and the mechanics more, but it just doesn't feel like the balance of the first game. It felt way more like the Call of Duties I don't like, where it's just, oh, you've played this game for way longer, therefore you're on a higher pedestal, rather than it coming down to like skill and that's what I like about the latest Call of Duty. I haven't played World War II or whatever came after that before. I don't even know what this one's called. Is it called Advanced? No, it's not Advanced.
This one's Modern Warfare.
Yeah, that one.
Modern Warfare again.
What was before this? Black Ops 4?
Yeah, and that didn't have a campaign.
And then World War II was before that, maybe?
Yeah, and then before that was Infinite Warfare, because Battlefield 1
was it not Black Ops 3?
At the same time as Infinite Warfare. And then after that was Call of Duty. It's like, I guess we'll go back to the past two?
Infinite Warfare was the same year that Doom and Super came out, also 2016.
2016, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good year for shooters. Like, every single one of those games were good, including Battlefield 1. But yeah, Titanfall 2. I didn't like the multiplayer, and it was too much of a departure for me from the first game.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's fair.
Their Wikipedia article has it grouped into World War II warfare, Blops, other games. So I can't just look at the... No, wait, I can...
It was 2018 World War II would have come out.
Yeah, so it was Infinite Warfare in 16,
and then
World War
Black
II
Ops
was 17,
3.
18 was Blops 4, Modern Warfare was 19.
Where's Blops 3 though? Who knows? Who cares?
Blops 3 was before Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare was good. Advanced Warfare was good. Everything apart from the Black Ops games have been good.
Well, the Advanced was the one where it was all jumpy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but that was I thought the story in that was actually, well, the campaign, not the story. The stories are never good in Call of Duty. The campaign was good on that.
It was fun. The campaign was fun.
Yeah. Advanced Warfare was like the best campaign since the first Black Ops for me.
Okay.
I know a lot of people like Black Ops too, but I didn't gel with it quite as well. Yeah. What a long storied history that Call of Duty.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's this year's meant to be?
I think a remake of Black Ops.
Is it really?
Well, no, it might not be a remake of Black Ops. I think it's some kind of it's coming under Black Ops. Whether it's taking a similar stance as the new Modern Warfare, that maybe it's kind of it's just a different story sort of thing.
Yeah, it seems like it's coming out from Treyarch, which is why people think it's Blops.
Yeah, I think it's a new generation now. Just do something different, you know. Like, you've got the Call of Duty brand; it's going to sell regardless. They've got good faith on like this Modern Warfare. People really like it, so just do something different for once, you know.
Football game, Call of Duty football. It's it's the Christmas Day World War I thing where they all come out of the trenches and play football against each other. That's it.
Battle Royale football, which I think FIFA actually has, so everything's possible.
100 players? It's just like FA singles, isn't it? Like used to play in the playground. FA singles or FA doubles, where there's one goal and there's just a bunch of individuals or duos all just trying to either head or volley into the goal. Yeah,
I don't know what the mechanics are exactly, but there's a Battle Royale in FIFA.
Fuck's sake. Well, it's just like that. What was it? What was that game we saw on the PlayStation reveal? The car battle royale game.
Rocket League, Fortnite as the deal.
Oh yeah. What was it called? Rocket League, Fortnite was.
What's interesting?
God, I can't even remember.
But it is just like, we sat down in a supermarket, grabbed Billy and his friends, Jimmy and Tommy, and they're like, Billy, Jimmy, Tommy. Here's a checkbox. Which of these do you like? Cars, yeah. Rocket League, yeah. Guns, yeah. Fortnite, ugly CGI characters, yeah. Ship it. Make it and ship it. There you go. Budget that's 2 million. There you go.
Exactly. Done. Turned around really quickly just from that one supermarket outing. Aadil, how about you? Has there ever been a game that you've experienced, you tried a demo of or played a beta of that has really put you off, that you've then returned to at a later date and picked back up?
I've been thinking about this. I don't know.
Demos don't exist anymore.
I mean, I'm
loads
trying
of demos,
to
mate. Steam's full of them.
Summer
Games
a
Festival.
a game that I sort of did, just even. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm trying to. If I go far back enough, it might have been TF2.
Oh, I thought you meant like way back, like PS1 demo disc or something.
I remember when Team Fortress 2 came out. I wasn't super into it. But I think that was just because the people I was playing with were more CS people. But then I literally changed departments in the uni I was in, working at, and then people were like, "We really like this game," and then I played it. But other than that, there's Yeah, I mean, a lot of games that have demos, I don't get around to playing.
Sure.
To be perfectly honest. So it's kind of like, that's a dead question. I probably wouldn't have. I mean, so like, but like, I had the opposite thing with like Tom Clancy's TM Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah.
Right, like I enjoyed that more than you did in the beta that we were in, and so I picked it up on Xbox, I think, back when I had one of those. And then within like a week and a half, I was like, oh, I kind of just want to do stupid things with my friends who aren't playing this, and my friends who are playing this aren't around, and you can technically solo, but it's real boring. It turns out. And it just was one of those games where I did tool around by myself, but I didn't realize how much of my enjoyment in the beta was not that. And so as soon as that like level of some solo and some team, but mostly team, as soon as that like evened out, it was like, bored as hell. Now I see why they didn't buy this game.
The inverse I had as well of playing a demo and it really sold me was Doom 2016.
But then you loved the game.
Huh?
But you didn't like the demo?
But you did.
No, I'm saying what the demo turned me onto the game is just that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm saying a demo that turned me on that I then didn't like. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you loved Wildlands. You bought Ghost Recon Breaking Point right away.
Wait, what?
Breakpoint?
I think that's
Is that
what it's
the
called.
new one that I didn't realize was out?
The John Bernthal one.
Oh God, did that
It could be
come
called
out?
Ghost Recon Point Break. I don't know. That would have been a better game.
It's like a different game, but probably better. Yes.
Waterfalls. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't think of anything outside of
Yeah, that's fair.
the opposite. Demos, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then. Let's move on to our next topic this week. Lucy, we're rolling through them quick this week. Let's get them done.
Yeah.
Lucy, what do you want to chat about this week?
I played a few
16 games.
Yeah, 16 games. Going to talk about only 15 of them. I dug through that itch.io bundle again. I played.
Did I?
Oh, I don't think we would have played the same game, but I played a game. Well, what are the odds really? It's like 1 in 1,500.
726, I think, so far.
It's more than that. They're
No, like 1,726.
Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah.
What did you play, Lucy?
Go on.
I played Signs of the Sojourner. It's a visual novel that's disguised as like a deck building card game. The deck building is really centered around matching symbols that oddly look like PlayStation symbols, like a square and triangle and circle. But you're basically having these dialogues with other characters in the world, these NPCs. You're basically part of this caravan that goes around to different cities looking for trinkets and items to sell in your shop. And along the way, you encounter these different people, and it is just like, this very 2D visual novel style look to it. And the whole premise of the game is you want to match up these cards, the symbols on these cards. Basically, you play a card, and then the NPC who's speaking to you plays a card, and you want all these cards to match in like a row of 4 or 6 or something like that. Different cards have different abilities. If I play this card, I can see their deck, or if I play this card, it means I can immediately play another card, or if I play this card, that means they have to play 2 cards or something like that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is centered around getting the most amicable like conversation, and by that you match all these cards.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I really like that as a premise. It's like, the art of conversation is we've kind of drilled that down into a card game. The problem is that this makes really a lot of sense thematically, but in terms of gameplay wise, this is where it falls apart. basically you're going to these different cities, and the symbols start to change, and you'll need to pick up more cards. After each conversation, you get a new card, and basically, I've gone to this new city. I've learnt this. Instead of the cards that I have, which are all triangles and circles, this person has now cards of like squares and diamonds.
Right.
So I need to talk to this person more and people in this town to then get those cards into my deck. But the thing is that the deck is only 10 cards, and then by the end of the game, you have like a deck of 10 cards, but there's like 7 different symbols, and it's very hard to then match up in like these different cities and different towns. And when you can't get a conversation like flowing, and it turns sour basically, and you fail the card game, which is very easy to do once you get too many different symbols and you just can't match them up. Like sometimes I've just started like the match, and there's been nothing to match the next card with, so it's an automatic instant fail. And thematically it makes sense. It's like, I'm going to these new and distant towns, I have to learn how to speak the lingo or get used to the local parlance and stuff like that. So thematically it makes sense. But in terms of gameplay, it just falls apart immediately because it's really punishing. And what's worse on top of that is the further you travel in this caravan out to distant lands, the more fatigue cards that you get. And basically those are like instant failure. You can't bury these in the deck. You can only get rid of them when you actually go back home, which ends like a run for you.
Right.
And
I was just gonna ask how you can thin the deck or remodel it.
You can thin the fatigue cards by talking to like your dog companion, but he seems to only pop up like randomly and stuff like that. Yeah, pop up like randomly. And so you can have like 5 fatigue cards in like a deck of 10. And in your other like five cards, none of those symbols might match up with the NPCs. So it's like really punishing, and it's really it just doesn't match gameplay wise, which is a shame because it's got a really nice look and sound to it, and it's just thematically. It's only 3 hours. I played it all in one sitting, so it's like I really like it's doable, but I don't know if there's like different endings, and it just sucks when you fail something because it's like RNG and it's wanting you to build up this deck, but you simply can't match everything or even remotely. So the last 2 trips were I'm just clicking through this. I'm gonna fail everything anyway. Whatever. Let me get to the ending. So
interesting to have that conversation where you match up the first symbol, and it's a very pleasant greeting, and then in the next part you just insult their trousers or something, really random, and it's just soured from then on. I just ask you to leave.
Yeah, and by failing dialogue, it's like you miss out on like crucial plot points and story points. Like basically, you've taken over this caravan because your mother has passed, and you want to know about all these places that she went to, the people she saw, the people she met, what did she get up to, and stuff like that. And talking to these passerbys, you're meant to get that information. You're meant to find like new locations through dialogue. But when you're just failing, it locks too much from you, and it's a shame. But I really like the theory of like, I've been out on the road so long, it's hard because when you come home and you've got all these different symbols, it's like, I find it hard to speak to the people that I know best at home because I've been out on the road so long. And I like that thematically.
It would be nice if you had some way of having a larger, so you can only take 10 cards into a conversation, but you maybe have a larger deck of 20 cards or something, and at some point before you head out on a run, you can tailor that deck a little more, and you can say, well, actually I'm heading up here, and then I think I'm heading here, and I think I'm heading here. And obviously the more fatigue cards make that more difficult. The conversations out here look for more symbols, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But at least you've got some way of tempering that frustration that you find with just having, 5 cards that you can choose because the rest of are fatigue cards and none of them matching up. Like, just I can imagine that's such a frustrating moment.
Yeah, it really is. And Ben, you should be a game designer, because that's exactly what I was thinking as well. I was thinking, why can't I just, as you say, have a deck of like 15, 20 cards, and every time I'm moving on to a new town, let me switch out, let me build the deck so it caters to what the next town is going to be. Which is what I feel like most deck building games that you do, or at least some of them. But yeah, as I say, it looks pretty. It's got a really nice soundtrack. And yeah, if you got the bundle, it's
there.
Yeah, try it out.
Was it
I think
Signs of the Sojourn?
Sojourner.
Sojourner.
I think there's you can do the first trip for free on Steam as well.
Okay.
It's like a demo, so
That's kind of handy.
Yeah.
You haven't bought the racial equality bundle.
I mean, if you listen to us and you haven't bought the racial equality bundle, what are you doing?
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. I played another game, but I can speak about that next week. It's called Little Orpheus. It's a Apple Arcade game made from the people who made Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. The
Chinese room, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's wrapped up today, but I can talk about that next week.
Nice. Good. We'll roll swiftly on then. Aadil, what do you want to chat about this week?
I played a couple games in the bundle on our new scheduled Monday lunchtime streaming slot. Ben joined me. Thought we have a VOD and we might push that to YouTube too, so I won't talk too much about it. Mostly it was the first 10 minutes was struggling to find a game using the there's someone made a website to allow you to traverse and search different multiplayer tags and different tags on the giant bundle, which I thought was really cool. But then on the itch client, it was the game, okay, found a game, cool, let's find it on itch. And it's nope. If you want to use the itch client versus just going to the website and downloading the installer by itself, which I don't like having a bunch of random installers strewn about. I'd like to be able to use the client to install and uninstall, make things a little cleaner, and that turned out to be a bit of a headache. So I figured I would just talk about that. I think I like the idea of kind of using RNG to just pick a random game as much as you can and just see what it is, because one of these things is hey, you spent the 5-10 quid on the bundle to support a cause, and the other thing is these people are I will give my game away. And so rather than being hey everyone, A Short Hike is a great game, it's in the bundle, buy the bundle, play that, and you're fine, you've already made your money. Or it's cool, I'll try and do whatever, unless it's a tabletop RPG manual, in which case I'll move on, which is exactly what happened with the second RNG. But we played, what was it? Blinds, virtual blinds.
Yes.
Which was a short experience. Try it out. It's short. There's not a lot to it.
I want to know the premise. You can't just say virtual blinds.
It's kind of what's on the tin. You're in a little room. There's some blinds and a TV and a audio mixer pad with different sound buttons, and some post-it notes and some mail. And the days go reasonably quickly. But you sometimes it's cloudy and sometimes it's not, and the TV can kind of
really selling it. Really
the TV kind of will tell you one of the channels is a weather channel, so you can tell if it's gonna be cloudy the next day and whether you want to open or close your blinds. That's I'm not exaggerating. There's a couple hidden post-it notes, but it is kind
So
of
the game
what
too.
you would expect. It was not as bad as I think I'm making it sound worse, but it was interesting. But it is one of those things where someone tossed their little itch project into the bundle to just help the bundle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I wanted to talk a little bit about was phn-home, or phn-home.
Yep.
Which started with a epilepsy warning.
Yeah, Lucy, don't play this game. Your motion sickness will just instantly kick in.
I know, but I'll stick to virtual blinds. It seems like the kind of sedate.
It was real interesting. I mean, we're gonna definitely put that chunk. I think maybe the whole thing of the stream on YouTube, because that was a treat. I really liked. The biggest problem was our streaming setup was such that I was sharing through Discord and Ben couldn't hear it. Because basically you wake up in kind of a monochrome house with the lights all off, and you have like a fog, like a real dense fog so you can't see that far in front of you, and a phone is ringing, and you have to find it, and you pick it up, and it's a dial tone or an engaged signal. And then you put it down, and then somewhere else in the house, another phone starts to ring. And you just sort of stumble your way through this dark house, looking for the ringing phone, which Ben's got a way better spatial mapping apparatus in his head. I would have stumbled for way longer. But he couldn't hear the phone ringing. And I'm reasonably okay with being, I think that sound cue is that way. And so by our powers combined.
You would point in a direction, and I would tell you how to get behind the wall.
You're like, it's probably in this room because da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, is that room? Cool. But it gets weirder.
We'd be a good detective duo, I think.
Yeah, we would. Yeah. Ben and Aadil, B&A?
Bah.
Yeah.
Bah, PD.
It was honestly pretty fun.
Detectiveness.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ben and Aadil detectives. Bad.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Or detectives, Aadil and Ben. Dab.
Private
The kid
dicks.
do that. Yeah.
Oh no, a dab on Twitch. What have I become?
Become a millennial.
I've always been a millennial. It's the approaching Zoomersness.
Yes,
Anyway, yeah. So I think that's actually it. Yeah, because of your motion sickness and stuff, it might not be that fun. But it was like a good 25-minute experience, and it was fun. And it really solidified that I think I like this idea. I'm going to try and do more streams of just
random.
What random thing from this bundle, if only to just help advertise the bundle. And also it was weird, but it was fun. And it's a thing I never would have, like, even if I saw it on itch, I'd be like, okay. Even though if it was free on itch, I'd be like, nah, there's so many things. And so I think, yeah, there's a nice little loop there that allows you to gives you the license to go look at something you might not, because it's all contained in this bundle of good support.
Absolutely. I don't know how many game experiences there are in that bundle. There's a lot of tabletop RPG PDF, like rule books. Yeah. There's a lot of assets in there. There's a bunch of stuff which aren't a fleshed out experience to play. In that moment when you click on it, it'd be interesting to see how many of those 1,700 odd titles are games that you can play, because I mean this could just be your job for years, Aadil, getting through that entire thing.
Well, I mean, like I mean, we had an hour and a half, and we putzed around with. I'm really sad I don't remember the second game.
Yes.
So we did virtual blinds, and then we did this text-based RPG, which like younger me would have probably really liked. It was kind of Zorky, but with a map. And it had this deck-based combat system, which seemed really cool. But Ben and I were both just not quite in the headspace to do all of the reading. Yeah. And like the tutorial took probably 15 minutes. And then it was like, now you're starting the real game. And then I went like 2.5 minutes in and it was like, should we try something else? And so I might try and go back to that one. But it's just like one of the advantages of, hey, I'm just going to try and check out things is like I don't have that, like I don't feel too terrible to be like, this wasn't for me at this time that I randomly got presented by the universe this game. Cool. I'll remember it, but I don't feel bad about being like, nope, not now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and I think it's good in helping you kind of adapt that and move that out to bigger experiences as well. You know, if you're kind of in that headspace where you'll play something for 5 minutes and think, nah, this isn't for me, with currently thinking, well, this is just a smaller experience, part of the bundle that I've got, I feel okay with dropping that now, it might allow you to get to a point where you think, okay, I'm going to try this slightly larger experience. I played, you know, Spider-Man or something else, one of these games that's sort of in your back of the Outer Wilds, you know, things that you kind of have that are sort of sat there with this, not quite a cloud over them, but you know that you want some time to be able to put into it. And kind of almost the idea that maybe, or the expectation that you should try and play it as much as you can. But it might just help you go, I'm going to play this for 5 minutes. Nah, not in the mood for that now. Move on to something else. You know, even with those much bigger experiences as well.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
You'll become a gamer one day, my son.
I used to be one. Back in the day.
It's never too late, because you know what? Sometimes you just get like this just stroke of, I don't know if it's madness or genius. They always say there's a fine line between insanity and like genius, don't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
And today I went on random emulator site. It's not random because I actually use it to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Was it 2 that I played?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
I fired up Dino Crisis, and I'm
Nice.
currently downloading save states onto my computer to go back to it later because I think I'm going to play the whole of Dino Crisis because it's a travesty that there's like an 18th Resident Evil game and still no Dino Crisis. So I'm going to take matters into my own hand and just play it.
You've got to sometimes, unless you own the PS1 and a disc. Is there any other way to play it?
I think it came on Vita in the US, and that's it. And I can't be asked with the region thing, and it took me 2 seconds to get into the emulator, so it's decent. Set up my PlayStation control because I thought, yeah, let's play on a PlayStation control.
Nice.
Xbox controller.
Not the original PlayStation control without the analog sticks.
No, tank controls are just so much easier with a joystick.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. And I was like, oh, that's why, it's because I'm using this joystick.
Right.
Not directional pad. Yeah. That game's still so good. Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes in. It's still so good. As history has shown, dinosaurs are better than zombies. So I'm going to be playing Dino Crisis instead of The Last of Us, probably, for the foreseeable future.
All depends when you get your copy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When it arrives.
I'm not, you know, champing at the bit to play that game. I know nothing about it. I don't know if I want to play such a, you know, dark, depressing game. We didn't need a sequel. No matter what anyone says, we didn't need one. It's like,
yeah, that's about right.
And we'll probably talk about The Last of Us next week in at length, probably.
Yeah, I guess I'll play it. I guess I'll play probably the best rated game out this year. I guess I'll play it.
Well, remains to be seen. There's still a lot of big games to come out, Lucy.
Everyone wants that Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's, yeah. Well, I think people. I mean, yes, The Witcher 3 is a wonderful game, but just temper expectations. It seems like, you know, it's unfair to the developers at some certain point. Where everyone's saying It's going to be the second coming of Christ,
Mm.
especially given the conditions now,
Yes.
and the conditions before at that studio anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Making them like dogs over there, like naughty dogs.
Mm.
Hey,
I'm the pun queen today.
You are.
you are.
Knocking
You're
them out.
doing. You're putting me to shame.
Right, let's finish there for the moment, for the three of us on this stream. Lucy, I see you're still enjoying that beer. It hasn't smashed back. With the is that because of the idea there's no expectation that we're going to have another beer, so you've taken your time with it, or do you just think it is a beer which you can sup and just sit over?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely the latter. It's just, it's refreshing, and you still get those nice like bubblegum estery like flavors that linger quite a long time. So you're not like always wanting to reach for another sip. It is really nice. So yeah, I could have just smashed this back, but it's like no, it's just nice, just nursing this one. It's really,
Nice.
really good beer. I've had a few. I think it was two. More beers, or maybe I just had the one, I can't remember, from Kinnegar. They have a is it called Craggy Bay IPA or something? I had their IPA. I think it's just their like standard IPA, and that was really nice. I think I got that from Honest Brew, and I've ordered another one because it was that nice.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, keep an eye out for them.
Nice.
This one's really good as well.
I think I've had a couple of beers from them which were in a Beer 52 box a couple of years ago now, I guess. Maybe when they did,
Maybe.
I don't know, like a European box or an Irish box or something.
Okay, yeah.
I remember
sense.
having a couple of beers from O'Hara as well, I think in the same box. So I've definitely had some from them, but I'll look out for that one, definitely, from what you say.
Oh, I haven't had O'Hara's in ages.
Mm.
They make some really nice beers.
They do. Adel, you had an O'Hara's a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Yes.
This is literally the only thing I remember what you two drink on the podcast.
Better
That's
than
it.
me. I don't remember the
Yeah.
fuck I'm drunk.
He doesn't remember his own child's birthday. He remembers one.
Adel, the Yeastie Boys and Utopian collab that you had, which went back pretty swiftly.
I think part of that is just because it has that lovely portery sort of heft in the taste, but it's still a brown ale, so it's quite like easy to drink, and so it was quite easy to take larger sips and not notice I was taking larger sips. Definitely would recommend the Yeastie Boys Utopian Dream Sequence. Devon and New Zealand.
Your cat just opened the door by himself.
What was that? Somebody else.
I'm assuming it was someone else who didn't like hearing him yell at the door. That was really weird.
It's like a raptor then these doors.
Oh, that's never happened before. Yeah, go if you can find the spear, go pick it up. It's real tasty.
Yeah. Good.
Just focus on this can and not my weird opening door.
What is that? Some kind of
Is that a lighthouse?
monument?
It's not really. I think it's actually. So I think it's some bicycles on a bridge.
Okay.
So I think these are just like bridge pylons, but I have no idea.
It's nice.
But like you can tell, it's like not a lighthouse or anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of the beach.
Kind of, yeah. It's got the like, even though it's like a road.
It does have that seaside
like-
monument sort of look to
I think
it.
a lot
doesn't
of
it?
that is that like
The red and the blue.
gorgeous blue. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So for me, I've just tried the Bilberry IPA from Steam Machine again, and it's the same. It's the same as it was when I cracked it. It has that sort of acidity to it, kind of overriding everything else. The Yonder Golden Casket, which is a triple, 7.5%. I wasn't quite ready for the big flavour that it gave me. It's full of orange and absolutely full of lemon as well. It does say on there that it's brewed with sumac and orange peel. And you get orange in that flavour, and then you're just left with this lovely lemony flavour, just that runs and runs and runs. You don't need to go back to it, but it's so easy and so drinkable that I reached for it really quickly. Obviously, it's in Yonder's slightly larger bottles at 375.
Holy!
But it went so quickly. That is a lovely beer. Yonder makes some excellent beers. I mean, the beers I've had from Steam Machine as well, I've enjoyed. A couple I had last year. I haven't seen them for a little while, but I had a few last year from them. And I think it is just the date on this Steam Machine that's just made it undrinkable, basically.
But thanks for an interesting photo. Very interesting colour.
It is.
Before we
Beetroot.
wrap up,
looks very brown. Like that.
Yeah.
Beetroot.
I just want to say that I don't know if you guys caught this, but Humble has released their own Fight for Racial Justice bundle. Which
saw murmurings, people saying, "Oh, there's another big bundle on the way."
Which is roughly $1,200 US worth of stuff.
Are you just donating like all your games?
Yeah, it's got Jackbox Party Pack 4, Baba's Use, Spelunky, FTL, Bioshock Remaster, This War Is Mine, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I really want to highlight is it's got a bunch of graphic novels, and it looks like novels. That are actually Black History related.
Oh, nice.
So Black History in Its Own Words, The Prince of Cats is a graphic novel. Shaft, A Complicated Man is a graphic novel, which I think might be commenting on Shaft. And then 12 Years a Slave, literally the book.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of things otherwise. And I think...
On what format do you get those books? Is it just a PDF or...
I'm not sure.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I can read.
Yeah, I have actually been reading a little more for pleasure again. Yeah, so they're okay. They're available the comics are available in CBZ, PDF, and EPUB, and the ebooks are PDF, Mobi, and EPUB. So if you have a Kindle, for example, or the Kindle app, you can get a DRM-free compatible version.
Nice.
Or you can just read it on PDF. That's really cool. I think, and someone's put $20,000 in. Jeff is the top donator with $20,000 for this one bundle. Yikes. I think to pay what you want, for the Steam keys and other keys, it's $550.
Is that it? I hope they mean $550. No, not $5.50.
Right.
Wow, that's nuts.
But I think that they're asking for 25 quid.
I mean, yeah.
Which, given that the two of those games are actual are probably retail for more than that. Two of those initial games, and then you get all this extra stuff. Especially, like I said, these things you'll probably miss out, like the graphic novels and the novels. So, if you're wondering how to learn more or figure out that perspective,
yeah, that's smart.
I think both this and the other racial bundle have books, and it's probably the right type of thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
it's funny that I just played Bioshock in the non-remastered version, but yeah. That game's still a masterpiece, by the way. Really enjoyed it. Wrapped it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long did it take you? Just as an aside.
At least 10 hours, I imagine.
Okay.
Yeah. Towards the end of that game, it's I wouldn't say dragged on. I enjoyed like every minute of it, but it's you see repeated stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really really good. Still holds up for
Nice.
me anyway.
Good. I may visit it very soon after I finish maybe World War II COD game. Who knows? I mean, I'm kind of in a bit of a shooter mood. So it may be something I jump to next.
It's a shooter where you never aim down the sight, so I was very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that actually from playing it. That you just run and gun constantly.
Yeah. I think you can like go into like first. Well, it's already first person view, but like aiming down like kind of like the scope. I didn't care to find out what button made you do that, but so yeah, it's just like no, shoot from the hip. Use my flatheads.
Nice.
Days.
Good. Right, so we will finish this segment there for now, and everybody listening to the podcast or watching the video will be greeted in a moment, I hope, by Dave and Sean joining us from Pillbug Interactive. It's 216. Anyone viewing us either on the stream or over on YouTube can see that we're now joined by Dave and Sean from Pillbug Interactive. Hey!
Hi.
And for those of you joining us for the second night, we're here with Aadil as well.
Hey! So I'm just monitoring the stream loudness. Continue
Nice.
talking.
So, you two, Dave and Sean,
Yeah.
hey, how's
Us
it going?
too.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thanks for having us back on.
Absolutely no worries. You have a new game coming out at some point in the future. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to lots of other stuff as well. But first, we're going to crack some beers. Dave,
Oi.
as your top left, what are you drinking?
Oh, jeez. I have a Gower Gold, which is a refreshing Welsh golden ale, brewed with Maris Otter malt and a distinctive citrus flavour and aroma of Cascade hops. It's something you can find in most Tesco's.
Okay.
So not particularly, you don't have to hunt it down, but it is a Welsh brewery. And seeing as I thought, we are in Wales right now, me and Sean, I would at least kick things off with some home representation. I believe it's Swansea. Yeah, Unit 25, Crofty, Swansea. So not Cardiff. The local breweries in Cardiff, of which there are a few small kind of craft breweries, of course, they are a bit harder to get to at the moment for obvious reasons. But I know people are buying Pipes beer kind of socially distanced on certain days, which is a little microbrewery near where I live.
Nice.
So I will get into
you get into that.
showing
Sean,
how badly it's poured. Yeah, you carry on.
Sean, what are you going to drink?
So I actually have a cocktail, which is a beer cocktail.
Oh.
Because I've been kind of like diving into cocktails, so it's this thing. It's called a hop, skip, and jump. And what it is, so I've got Beavertown Gamma Ray IPA, and what you do is you have it's like half an ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of Cynar, which is like an artichoke liqueur, which is a really bitter liqueur. It's really nice. Some sweet vermouth, and then a couple of dashes of hopped grapefruit bitters.
Oh.
So it's just it's like a really refreshing kind of bitter. Oh, it's just so nice. Like I was a bit worried when I first tried it because I thought like a beer cocktail that's not gonna be very nice, but it's so good.
Nice. I
Also,
assume
like
it's.
the straw proper cocktail serving.
Is
Sean
there an
does
umbrella? I didn't see an umbrella.
No, there's no umbrella.
Not a beer
I
cocktail.
should have got one. I've got umbrellas.
They're all in use.
I assume, Sean, that it is like 90% beer, and then the rest are small kind of additions to it.
Yeah, it's a bit like when you make the mixer. So you kind of you shape the mixer in a cocktail, and it's, I don't know how much. It's probably like a quarter of that, and then the rest beer. So it's really subtle. I was surprised the first time I had it how you don't lose the the beer can stand up to it.
Yeah.
But I think you need to have like a citrusy kind of hoppy beer, and then the hops bitters and the lemon juice just kind of it's like that kind of, when you have something bitter and it's like an experience rather than a taste.
Yeah.
It's like that. It
Nice.
really just kind of like, yeah, right. Yeah, so it's very nice.
Are these just to get off on the tangent of beer cocktails? I don't think I've ever seen one before in a bar or a tap room or anywhere
really?
like that. Is this no? Is this something that you kind of discovered whilst out and about, or is it come more from the cocktail, enjoying cocktails side of things?
It's come more from, well, what it was. So it's actually from a book here that, for those of you watching, Session Cocktails, and and that's probably mirrored. Sorry.
That's not
Right,
mirrored for us, just for you.
Oh, cool. So I really got into cocktails like a few Christmases ago, and like when I say really got into, you don't want to know how much. Like I've gotten into. I like my board game collection has had to shrink so that the bar could get bigger.
Oh, wow.
But like cocktails are really strong and not very good for you. So there's lots of books about like low ABV cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways of making a cocktail kind of low ABV is adding like mixes like soda water or beer.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. Is like that book has got a bunch of beer cocktails in that really work. Yeah.
Perfect. Nice. I will open a beer. I'm going to drink from Track Brewing Company Intrinsic Space IPA. I'm doing the N.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
Backwards N. Intrinsic Space IPA, which is 6%. I think it must just be Strata as the hop, so it's probably a single hopped one. Doesn't have any other hops or ingredients on there, apart from barley and oats being the allergens. But yeah, Strata, 6% from Track. Aadil, what have you got?
I've got your camera's trying to auto white balance, and it's going flashy.
Oh,
I'm red. I'm bluish. I'm red. I'm bluish. I also have a beer. I have a beer from Gipsy Hill. Wait. Sorry, I'm looking down, and the audio has stopped on the stream.
no.
Let me just confirm it's not just my... Oh, maybe it's just my mic. For fuck's sakes.
There's one.
I'll pull my phone.
Yeah. Mic. Device not connected or avail. Oh god, don't tell me it's not defaulted correctly. Okay. Well, that was weird. Does one of you want to say a word?
A word.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I don't know how the first 5 minutes of the stream was, but luckily there's not a lot of people, and we're recording locally, so it should be fine. Where was I?
Hey, not a lot of people.
As I move the mouse cursor, which is unfortunately being recorded. I've got the Desert Haze. It's a hazy pale ale
nice.
from Gipsy Hill. Desert Haze is... So I got this in the Beer 52 from last month.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collaboration with Beer 52. It's a hazy, juicy, sessionable pale ale, chock full of Chinook, Vic Secret, and Citra hops. Fermented through with Vermont yeast for a big, sticky ester profile. Easy drinking, but full-flavored and fruity. Goes well with beer to your door and burning effigies. Brewing a better life. So we can see the effigy burning. I think it's Burning Man?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say it's that Burning Man.
Which,
related.
boy, they made that beer in the before times, clearly. Because ain't no Burning Man or effigies happening there.
No, absolutely not. Well, I missed it. What was the percentage? I missed.
You didn't miss. I didn't throw it. It is 4%.
Cool. Nice light beer to start. Good.
Yeah.
We'll bounce back to you, Dave. How is the Gower Gold?
It's very smooth. It's very nice. I'm not, and this might be sacrilegious. I don't know on this podcast, but I'm not that into too much in the way of fruit and citrus in beers. So I tend to stick to stuff that I suppose some palates would pretty much describe as flavorless. So that's fine for me. Like that level of flavor. If like more sophisticated beer drinkers thinks there's nothing going on there, that's probably where I want to be. So yeah, this is nice. I haven't actually had a Gower Gold before. I don't recall.
Mm-hmm.
I might have been drunk at the time. I don't know. But yeah, it's very easy. Like I forgot to shout out the percentage, and it's 4.5, so you can kind of see why it's not too full on. It's just my kind of speed.
Nice. Sean,
Yeah.
how does yours taste?
It's like super good. So like straight away, it's like the beer. So like the kind of malty kind of what you think of a beer, and then you get the lemon juice. Like it's really citrus, and you get that kind of which you don't normally get if you're drinking just a beer on its own. I would say like it's a different. It's like that fresh lemon juice. Like it's really kind of pops like really bright. And then that's when you get kind of the bitterness coming in from the grapefruit bitters and from the Cynar, and you get the Cynar is kind of almost like slightly vegetal. So you get that kind of coming in at the end, which is a really kind of nice, like I don't know, it's almost like a warming because it's like a really refreshing cold drink, but then you get that kind of warmth from that. Yeah, it's just really pleasant. And like I said, it's like that bitterness at the end that's really like more of a feeling in your mouth than a flavour. But yeah, you just want to go in for another drink.
Nice. You said there was sweet vermouth in there as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you get any of that come through? Or is
Not
it
really. So the sweet vermouth you're meant to have is Punta Mez, but I don't have any. So I subbed in something else. I can't remember the name of it. But so Punta Mez is quite a bitter vermouth and has wormwood in it, which I don't. So that one, it's almost like a Campari. Like you can like make something that approximates Punta Mez by adding some Campari to a sweet vermouth, like another sweet vermouth. But I didn't do that this time, and I think maybe that's what it needs because it doesn't. I'm not getting the sweet vermouth basically. Sure.
You just want that little hint of it coming through, don't you? But something maybe, as you say, if they specified a specific sweet vermouth, then I guess maybe they've tested stuff out, especially in a kind of a book like this. I imagine they had 10 different recipes, 10 different goes at making the best version of this with various brands of stuff. Was Gamma Ray the beer in the thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, cool. I like that it's like pretty beer specific.
Good.
It's like alchemy, isn't it? Sorry.
Yes.
You know, the ingredients are very specific to what Sean.
Yeah,
it's cocktails.
It's all like things like it's all proprietary stuff. So whereas things like maybe like bourbon even is easy to sub out because bourbon tends to be very well. I don't know. They are quite different, right? Like, when you get down to the proof, that's yeah. Okay, I take that back. I think most things are like really. I think when I first started like really getting into cocktails, I didn't notice, but then I now am at the stage where I'm like, right, I have my bourbon I like for whiskey sours. I have my bourbon I like for an old fashioned or a boulevardier or something, and it's they each work better in different drinks.
I think it's
my old fashioned Eagle Rare.
Okay, yeah.
Like I used to be Elijah Craig, but I bought a bottle of Eagle Rare, and it's just like it's really kind of hot. It's like really spicy, kind of. It stands up to anything. It's really, really nice, and so I think I like it in most things actually, because it always comes through.
I've only heard of it, so I'll have to try and source a bottle.
Super good.
Good. We'll move on to my what was it called? Intrinsic Space. So I'm not sure if I've had a Strata single hopped beer before. But it's very interesting. The beer itself is super soft, really, really soft, full-bodied as well. You're getting this lovely nose, which I'm finding really hard to pick out. It's kind of, it's almost a bit sort of stone fruity, but with this, like almost kind of. And I think it's the softness, and maybe this, I don't think there are any oats in it, but it's got this kind of creaminess. Oh, there are oats in it, yeah. So it's got this creaminess to the nose as well as the flavour. And I think whatever those stone fruits are, those oats are just giving it that kind of slightly creamy hint to it as well. But on the flavour, you get a very light touch of sort of like passion fruit or something like that, and then this big kind of melon hit, and there's this underlying kind of dank, weedy sort of note to it as well. So it moves through those flavours really well. You start off with that nice sort of sweeter passion fruit hit, moves into this slightly more bitter kind of melon flavour. And again, hard to pick out maybe what kind of melon that is. because it moves really swiftly, to having that deeper, danker kind of flavour to it, and then everything at the end. So it flows nicely through, but everything kind of stays. So you've got the passion fruit, then the melon comes in. The passion fruit sort of just subsides a little bit, but it's still there. Then that dankness comes in. Those first two subside slightly, but they're all still there. And it makes this really, really pleasant, very, very easy drink. I'm just going to drink it shut. Aadil.
Oh, yeah, me. Right, it's definitely hazy. On the pour, like, can't really see my fingers at all. And look, I'm giving it a position anonymously. The nose is quite fruity, slight citrus, but mostly like tropical. And that carries through. It's got this lovely sort of slightly underripe tangerine note all the way through. So just like sweet citrus, but with a touch of tartness from start to finish. And then over top of that, you start with this mild tropical punch tropical hit, not a tropical punch taste, but a hit of tropicalness. And then it moves into that banana-y estery flavor. That was given away in the flavor text, and then that fades away, and then that's when you notice, oh yeah, that slightly tart tangerine citrus is now the only thing lingering. Oh wait, but it's been there the whole time. So it's got a really nice, interesting taste curve, where you sort of have some ups and downs, and then the steady note that is steady enough that it's not overpowered by the other things. You just don't notice it until second sip. You're like, oh yeah, that's there the whole time. It's quite wet on the mouthfeel, and because you have this slightly tangerine-y finish, I'm not reaching for the glass for the sake of like requenching my palate. It's actually leaving me, for a pale ale, quite sated. I do enjoy the taste, so I will be taking more sips, but it's just one of those beers where it isn't pushing you towards having more, which I always like.
Good. Right. Let's all enjoy these, and we'll get to loads of stuff to talk about today.
One last thing. It does have a bit of an aspartame-ness after the estery, which kind of feels drying, but that fades, and then leaves you with a slightly, like a bittering finish with that tart sweetness. So there's a moment where I realized that I was like, oh, actually, if you have this, you're going to be like, well, it kind of feels dry, but that fades. So, yeah.
Ooh, good.
Anyway, now I'm done.
Thank you,
possibly done now.
Yes. Right. So, Dave and Sean, before we get into kind of what you guys have been up to with regard to the new game, I thought we'd touch on first, because Lucy, Aadil, and I have been talking a lot about the itch.io bundle for racial inequality and justice. I think that's his full name. You have both of your previous games on there, and I think I saw them when it was at about 500 games. Do you know if you were part of the first wave of games, and also how have you got your game into this very, very excellent bundle?
So I think we were like, I think we were in the first wave, because so we've been on itch.io for a very long time. I've been putting games on there since I can't remember when. Like, I wasn't even living in this house. So like the guy Leaf is, I don't know what his real name is, but the guy who runs Itch just kind of mentioned it to us and said, hey, who wants to be in this bundle? And that was it, really. And so yeah, you just, like, we said, yeah, sure. And
which was a no-brainer, obviously.
Yeah. That was, we just kind of did it. And yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, it just grew from there. Like,
did you have a sense off the top that it would be in the like hundreds of games, or was it really just like a one-off email, like, hey, you want to join this bundle? And you're like, sure. And then you're like, it gets released, you're like, oh, this is big.
I think, like, it, with the way that Itch was, like, there's a lot of games on Itch, and so they said it was like, they just had a forum post where you could reply and just put your game on. So, like, and obviously I think everyone just banded together, and and I'm not sure. I think he'd have been quicker to ask who didn't want to go on it, right? On itch, because I think it ended up like some people have said this is basically like a press pass for itch.
Yeah,
Kind of, yeah.
Mhm.
you do have some. Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
Because you do have some much bigger, much bigger, some bigger titles on there that are sort of $10, $12, £10, £12, something like that. If not, maybe a little bit more as well. Which, I mean, it's not an idea of thinking, well, I can pay £5 and get hundreds of pounds worth of games out of this. That's kind of not what it's for. But this must be the best bargain anyone will ever pick up in their whole life, and just have. I mean, we touched on it yesterday. The amount of kind of tabletop RPG rule books and PDFs and visual novels and stuff on there, which people may not sort of touch.
Games, right?
Yeah. But there's so much there. You could just spend a year only playing that and never have to touch anything again.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we had a bit of a better story about how we came to be involved, but as Sean kind of says, it's just it wasn't something that we because we've been so busy with so many other things, it wasn't something that we really gave much consideration and thought to, or kind of not that we would need to, but just that it was just kind of like. Me and Sean, obviously, we're working remotely together about all kinds of things with the game. And he just pinged me a WhatsApp message, said, our games are going to be in a bundle on itch. Here's the link, for the kind of what it's about. And that was it. So it was, I don't think any of us expected, the volume of sales, the volume of games involved, and so on and so forth. That was obviously not in our minds at all.
No.
But it's phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thing to be part of was great.
Nice. And have you seen much kind of come in terms of sort of like statistics and things for the games that you've got included on there? Have you seen a big influx of new players? I know obviously with something like Cycle 28, you've got the leaderboards on there. So anyone, I suppose, can kind of see, what the influx of kind of new players would be. But with intelligent design as well, I guess you've got some, background stats pages that you can pull from it to see. Yeah,
I mean, we did. Like, I think it's a weird feeling because, like, I think we were talking about this the other day. Like, it feels weird benefiting from this. And, but like. We clearly have, and we've had, like, for intelligent design, actually, intelligent design's always like it's been on itch for a very long time, much longer than it's been on Steam, and like a lot of our community came from that. And it's always done well on itch. And if you search for like popular simulation games, it's always it comes up on the first page. So what that means is that people have presumably took this bundle with 1,000 games and just sorted by popularity. Right. And then if you then say sort by popularity, okay, I'm interested in simulation games, we were appearing. So intelligent design has been like I wasn't expecting how many people are playing it now, like a huge number. And we've even benefited from like people then like we like it,
well, someone
really... go on.
Sorry to interrupt. Popped into our Discord and in the ID channel, I bought it as part of this bundle, and it's one of the only games I've been playing. I've been playing it for ages now. I'm really enjoying it, and so much so they said, and I also went ahead and bought it on Steam. Just
Nice.
Just to say, kind of like thanks, and it's not an expensive game, but even for someone to do that is amazing. Like, real show of support.
It's a definite, like, we've been in a charity bundle before. So we were in the Yogcast bundle.
Oh yeah.
Was it? Yeah, back a few years ago with Intelligent Design. And I'll be honest, like, that one left a sour taste in my mouth.
Oh no.
Like, I found we got like both from the fact that the Yogcast team, like, they were a bit like they weren't overly nice to the kinds of games that were in the bundle. They were saying like, oh yeah, we've only got like a few good games and then it's a bunch of indie stuff. Sorry guys. And it's like, are you just completely threw us under a bus?
Yeah.
Like that's like, ouch. Like we just gave you like this much, you know, we were trying to do something for charity. Like, you know,
but also indie games is not good is such a bad look. Oh,
yeah.
That makes
Yes.
me angry for all kinds of reasons, not just because they were mean to you guys, our friends, but also what?
Yeah. We ended up getting like a barrage of negative reviews on Steam.
Really?
Yeah, from
Really?
people like saying things like, hey, I know I got this in a charity bundle and yeah, the devs were being super nice, but the way this mouse works, like, you know, and then negative review. It was very, and I like, do you know what? You can not like our games. That's absolutely fine. Everyone, but
Don't get out of your way.
yeah. But so we haven't had that. But the funny thing is, we were so prepared for that. Someone came into our Discord and said something nice, and it took us ages to figure out that it was something nice that person had said. We were like, hang on, is that guy insulting us? We don't.
That was so. Yeah, I want to pick up. Sorry, I had to pop in over my windows. I think I'm close to expiring in this heat. But
Drink more, Dave. Drink more.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That will help. I'm sure. Yeah. So, like, I think I wanted to say something a little bit about that kind of weird bundle experience, because I think it's something that we didn't expect, and something that I think a lot of devs early on might not expect, and a lot of experienced devs will be like, yeah, obviously this is going to happen. But it kind of comes down to people who wouldn't naturally gravitate towards your game finding it and buying and owning it in a way that they naturally wouldn't, right? Like they would be put off by X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's not their kind of genre. Maybe they don't like the graphics enough. You know, there's like 101 reasons why people don't buy games, right, at any given point. So to have lots of people getting into the game is great, wonderful. It really helps us. But obviously our games are pretty niche. They're kind of odd. They're, you know, quirky indie games. They're not going to be for everyone. They're not going to be everyone's tastes. So we end up, through bundles, getting a lot of players who wouldn't otherwise come to our games. And understandably, you know, they want to tell people about their experiences, and that can result in negative reviews. So, and we don't mind that. Like, it's obviously it's part of the process, and we don't ever really kind of do the thing where you respond to negative reviews, which, you know, is a controversial topic, I suppose, in of itself. But that didn't want us. We've still opted into a bunch of bundles, basically, is what I, you know, not just this most recent one on itch, but others as well on Steam. When offered the chance to do it, because ultimately I think it's still a force for good for us, even if it, you know, it can have some other unintended consequences as well.
I think, I mean, I probably would say that I wouldn't want to do a bundle that wasn't a charity bundle anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So I do have an issue. Like, as much as, sorry.
I said he heard it here first.
Yeah. I thought we had this understanding, Dave. Where's this come from? Like, I think so. It's a really hard. I'm going to be open with you and your viewers. It's a very hard, like, complicated. It's a lot of complicated feelings, because ultimately, like, and for the reason I'm okay with the charity bundle is because the idea behind a charity bundle is to raise money for charity. That's the aim. Okay. Whereas these other bundles, where you see people, like, they're doing bundles, what they do is they look on Steam. There's companies that look on Steam for games that have not done well, and they will say, right, okay, they prey on you at the worst possible time when your game has flunked and hasn't sold well, and they say, okay, we'll give you this much money for this many keys, and you end up selling your game for like 1 penny a copy, and it really devalues your game. I'm not convinced the numbers. It just they tell you things like, oh, it'll be really good for you, you'll get lots of reviews and stuff, but it never works out like that. There are like a few very special cases where that can work, which was Greenlight, which doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So like, you used to have to get so many votes to get even on Steam, and that's when bundles would get you enough people to vote for you to get onto Steam. But now there's not really any reason. So I think there's a danger. I think it kind of devalues games in a way. Those kind of bundles, where, like, I'm not counting the charity stuff. Like, charity stuff is, like I said, that's kind of giving away to charity. But that's my confused feelings about bundles.
I mean, it sounds kind of like when you're a freelance writer or photographer or whatever, and an outlet comes to you and says, "Oh yeah, write me an article, but I won't pay you. Just it'll be good for your exposure." It sounds like you're the same kind of vibes of preying upon something's not going well. This person might just do this thing for under the value of their work. That doesn't sound ideal. Fully understand why you wouldn't want to go back into the well on that. But I thought a question sort of came up in my head that have you had like reviews or feedback sort of from the review type sort of general sphere that has given you like has made you like actually change a game or like update and patch and like do quality of life stuff? Just want to get a better sense of how the ecosystem is with you guys. We definitely have heard that these sort of people who wouldn't like your game, if they'd gone out of, or wouldn't normally get your game, decided they didn't like going out of their way to say something, which, fine, I get these people exist. But I'm wondering about the, like, not the people who are in your Discord who are, like, really passionate, who are giving that, like, who are really much closer in the feedback. But, like, have you ever had one of those, like, couple offhand comments, like, oh, wait, actually, maybe we should?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard to pinpoint specifics, but my feeling is that there's where it's weighed into a general sense of momentum to certain changes, because I think as with anything creative, whether it's writing music or games or anything like that, you know, you get feedback from individual voices, and you know, sometimes it chimes with something that you already thought about, and it kind of like, yeah, that could be a thing. And it kind of niggles away at you. And then, you know, 2 or 3 other people say the same thing. And then you kind of, I guess it's kind of like a bit of herd mentality. We give it a bit more credence because it's getting enough, you know, enough echoes of that feedback. So I think for us, especially on what Sean was saying about the Yogscast charity bundle and the reviews that Intelligent Design got from that, we knew that certain players were not entirely happy with the UI system, and we knew it wasn't the best part of the game, and so on and so forth. But the kind of sheer weight of that being expressed in all kinds of different forms, in all kinds of different language, meant that we knew we had to look at that, and that would be part of the major update to the game that we rolled out. So that's the one that stands out for me. I mean, Sean, you might have others.
No, I think that's it. It's really like listening to feedback is really like trying to figure out what feedback to act upon and what not is a really tricky thing to do. But yeah, that is the big one for me. Is with Intelligent Design. I mean, we tend to we try and get that feedback before we release. In a lot of ways, as we try and do like beta testing and stuff, and try and that's your goal is always to try and get that feedback early. But obviously, you know, you can't always.
Yeah, I suppose that's the problem with beta testing, isn't it? You're not capturing a much broader sort of sample pool. You know, your beta testers are probably a lot of people who are already familiar with you guys, who may be in the Discord, who are friends, you know, other groups who may sort of like these kinds of titles, but to get a much broader sort of sense of changes and things like that, it must be very difficult to do at an early stage before release. Like, you, Dave, you mentioned that your new game has a demo currently up on Steam. With having a demo up, does that then allow people... I mean, you must have a store page for it. Have you got a community hub for it already? Can people already leave comments and feedback and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had... I mean, I think part of the development process for any indie game these days involves getting that Steam page up as early as humanly possible, so that for that exact reason, so that people can follow the game, they can become part of the game's community, at an early stage in the development. So yeah, we've had that up there a while. We post quite regularly. Obviously, there's patch notes for the beta, but also there's what have we had? We've had some Discord fan art. We've had all kinds of kind of beta discussions, I suppose, which is then publicly facing, and you can check it out. As well as on the Discord. But that's all up there and available on the Steam page.
Nice. Good. That leads us quite nicely into the new game, doesn't it? Before we get to it, I might crack another beer. I've absolutely smashed through that track.
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm still about a third left.
All right. Well, maybe I'll crack this. I'll ruminate on it a bit, and that might catch everyone up. Perhaps. We'll see. I've cracked it before I've said anything about it. I am drinking Escape the City.
You really want that beer.
I do really want this beer. Escape the City from Pressure Drop. It is
Pressure Drop. I love Pressure Drop.
Oh, they're very, very good. It's a 7.4% New England IPA. What does it have on it? Tasting notes. Dank. Yep. Seriously. Hops are Citra Cryo and Strata. Oh, another Strata beer. And it says, it was love at first smell when we got our hands on a bag of Strata. It's a grapefruit sensation, so wrong it's right. A dank hop of dreams. Pair it with Citra and you're onto a winner. Which they've done. Cool. I mean, the ridiculous can art.
I love it.
Yeah. Very 80s movie, like...
Very. It's like someone's being tracked through the woods.
Display or a HUD. I remember when I found out that those are almost entirely hand drawn, like in the Terminator. All that stuff is just an artist doing very detailed like text work, and it's like, holy, film was so wonderfully analog back then.
There's a subreddit I subscribe to that's entirely people drawing nice text.
Ooh,
it's called I forget what it's called, but it's like so satisfying watching someone like write a word.
Yeah,
nice. Awesome. I thought I'd have this beer because it's called Escape the City, something none of us can do at the moment.
Nice.
I suppose I'll drink it if no one else is ready.
Well, I was just going to fill that little spot with just letting you guys know that I've when I get to stream on the Pillbug stream, which is not as often as I'd like, because Sean takes over.
That's not true. That's the first time in
what's happened. I've been trawling Steam for pub simulation games. To kind of, because I've been missing going to the pub. So for my kind of lockdown stream theme, it's looking at all the different pub games. So what have we done so far? We've done Tavern Tycoon, Epic Tavern. I've got like a list of 4 or 5 more to.
Are they all tavern something? Is it all fantasy setting tavern?
There's I think there are. I mean, I'm going. I think I'm finding this. Biasedly, but I'm hitting that fantasy tavern kind of subgenre.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there are maybe some cyberpunk bar style games.
There definitely are.
Yeah. That's it. But it was quite a famous one recently, right?
Yeah,
it's Valhalla, but it's not Valhalla. There's ones in it.
Valhalla.
That one. The L's are ones, I think. There's dots
maybe
in
we'll
between.
Get to something like that.
Yeah.
But,
I call that genre of game the beginning of a D&D campaign.
They definitely lean into that so far as genres. It is definitely the D&D vibe. So what's your beer like, Ben?
Very similar to the first one. It's actually a little... the flavour text does say... What did it say? Dank, yep, seriously. It's maybe not quite as dank as the first beer from the track. And I wonder whether that's just the Citra balancing that out a little bit. Just giving a little bit more sort of tropical citrus notes in there to go along with that sort of that grapefruit, or the Citra and the the Citra and the Strata coming together to make more of a grapefruity flavour, getting a bit less of that initial kind of sweetness from the passion fruit I was getting on the track, moving through those flavours, and this kind of just leans straight into that grapefruit. A little bit of citrus, a little bit of lemon in there as well, and then those dank notes do kick in, but they're just a little bit more subdued than the track. And whilst the first bit had that lovely flow, this kind of almost presents everything at once and just allows you to sort of unfold those flavours rather than sort of very specifically presenting them to you at different parts. I mean, it's balanced beautifully.
What do you mean by dank?
So,
Dank nugs, yo.
Yeah, like the memes, bro.
yeah, weedy, mate. So you've got this kind of this slight weedy nose to it, but then in the flavour, it's maybe a little bit more towards the back end in the bitterness. You do get those weedy notes to it, but you find that actually kind of that bitterness lingers, and it's quite a soft bitterness as well. Like that dank note is weedy and soft, I think I would describe it.
And when we say weedy, we're thinking like skunk weed.
Yeah. Not weeds in my garden.
No.
Well, it depends what I'm growing, I suppose.
Like, as in, you go to Amsterdam, you go to the coffee shop, and you have a hit of weediness. It's less that. It's more of that, like, more herbal weediness with that unmistakable. That's what that type of smell and taste is. So usually it's if you've had the taste of marijuana, it doesn't usually taste the same way as it smells, like skunk weed. That skunkiness. It's as if you tasted that skunkiness. That's when you say like a dankness in a beer. It's that underlying tone.
It just conjures images of a cellar to me. Like that's like the deep, dank, dark.
Yeah,
cellar.
dank, dark,
It
damp.
Kind of is,
that
kind of like that sort of musty, wet, hanging in the air dankness. That I think is probably why people say, sniff those dank nugs, yo. It's probably from the same place. We're just circling around now.
Yeah.
I'm hip with them children.
Obviously. Aadil, are you ready for another beer? I saw you wash your glass.
Yeah. You saw me do a rinse off. This one is from Stroud Brewery. It's Schwarzwalder Cherry Stout.
Ooh, Schwarzwalder.
And if you notice, they're guaranteeing great taste. It's 5%. Creating premium organic beers brewed with Cotswold-grown malting barley, obviously from Stroud. And the Schwarzwalder is a rich, sweet, stout porter conditioned on sour cherries and molasses. Dark roasted malts add a hint of chocolate, evoking a certain dessert from the Black Forest.
Nice.
I grabbed it because, for two reasons. The first reason is that it's gotten crummy in the weather, so I thought, let's go a little more comforting beer. And the second, more pressing reason is, I had two beers in the fridge versus the ones that were out of the fridge, and the other one was also a cherry-based one, so I picked this cherry beer.
Nice.
I was thinking of doing next week a cherry week, but I'll just spread it across.
Good stuff. Sean, are you having another drink? Are you sticking on your cocktail?
I'm sticking on my cocktail,
Yeah,
which will take a while to.
And
Did you have one of the enormous ice cubes in it, dude?
So that's the weird thing about this. That was the other weird thing I didn't really talk about, is that you serve this cocktail on ice.
Yeah.
And it's probably the first time I've really had beer on ice, and I was like really unsure about it. And it definitely kind of like, obviously it just feels like it completely changes the mouthfeel, right? It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Like it feels weaker, but it's not. Doesn't taste like it feels more dilute, but it's not actually. Like the taste is still like really there. Yeah. So then it lasts longer, and it kind of opens up like as it dilutes as well. It changes as you're drinking.
I was going to make the analogy between a bong and putting some ice in it, only because I saw Dave's face and it just brought back our youth. But that's probably, makes it soft.
I have to say that the first time I had a beer-based cocktail was in the height of summer in North America, and it was certain Mexican sourced beer in a margarita, proper margarita, and you just dump a bottle of Corona in it.
Huh.
It's called a Corona Rita. Unfortunate, but Corona Ritas are great on a real warm day. But maybe need some rebranding. I don't know. I know they had a sales lull and then a peak when everyone was still not thinking maybe it's not as big of a deal. I haven't looked in on them, but I'm guessing it's gone back into Slumpsville.
It probably hasn't helped, has it? Yeah.
Just
but
a recent name.
Sean
recently
inspired me with ice. Sorry, Sean, to interrupt that, but yeah, like I went round to his for cocktails, in the before times, as Adil said, and he had these, like, it was sad, and my partner laughed at me how mind blown I was by these ice cubes that were just like massive ice cubes,
like fist size ice cubes.
Yeah, exactly. And for some reason I didn't realize people could get those at home. I didn't realize that was something you could do.
Do you know what? Those ice cubes are not big enough. I need bigger ice cubes. They're not.
Have you seen the Death Star?
Yes.
Because those things are like this fucking big.
Yeah. That's why I want to get like a sphere one, because they're bigger. Yeah, I need one to fill the glass. Like, it needs to, there to not be much room left in the glass. Just ice.
You could get a food bag, put it in the glass, fill it with water, put that in the freezer.
You joke. Right.
Oh no.
There's a current trend at the moment is you get a glass, you lean it up at the back of the freezer at an angle, you fill it half with water, and you freeze it so it's like half the glass is just diagonal ice. And then you put your old-fashioned cocktail in there, and then that's the perfect kind of like slight dilution.
That must be 45 degrees on
it's
that.
A weird 45 degree. Yeah. But it looks so good.
I assume it's so when you drink it, you have that flat plane of ice across the bottom.
You just get the whole drink just rushing towards your face.
Yeah, I've only ever seen pictures on Instagram of people taking pictures of the glasses, no one actually drinking them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that from what I've seen in cocktail Instagramming and drinks, it's often like that. It's so much is about it's kind of like food Instagrams where it's like so much about plating.
Yeah,
it's a picture-based medium that it's like, but then they don't say anything about it. Just like, look at this good-looking set of ingredients that were mixed together at various levels of heat at one point in time. Like, cool, but also. I mean, having said that, I definitely take pictures of the meals I take. I just don't post them on Instagram anymore.
They're just for your own edification and like a reminder of what you've eaten.
I mean, well, so because I cooked early, I literally took a pic. Like, I made my bowl. No one was around, even though I said dinner at 5. So I just said, "It's done." Sent a picture. The person ate it right before we had our call. So it's like some things like that. Or sometimes someone's like, "Oh yeah, what's the last meal you cooked?" "Oh, it was this Thai green curry." "Oh, cool. What's it like?" I'm like, "Well, it looks like this," and then I can. It's better than it just being like, "I did these things to the tofu." It's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, it looks like this. It looks like it, guys. If you're curious how to make it, I can tell you more.
Yeah.
I guess I'm grassroots Instagramming is what I'm doing. Yeah. Doing it all wrong. I should be front loading that.
Right.
Quit the beer business and just become a weird cooker.
You could. Keep drinking, but I mean, you could still become a weird cooker. It's fine.
Stop. I mean,
Dave, you're still sipping your first beer. What is your second beer? And then you can crack it whenever you're ready.
Okay, so my second beer is by, because I thought this gave a nice narrative through line from Cardiff back to our roots, because Ben and I grew up together some people may not know. This is the Golden Champion Golden Ale by Badger, the Dorset Brewers.
Yes.
So again, available in many good Tesco's. So the flavour notes: a bright golden ale with floral hints of elderflower, light and refreshing, a crisp taste of summer, which is obviously what I need as it pours with rain outside. And is also like sickeningly hot, as everyone's talking about. So yeah, there we go. It's got some talk about a nimble harvest mouse on the back, which I'm presumably is not going to be in the bottle.
You'd hope not.
No, they would have put it in the still.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So that's fine.
Just that one nimble harvest mouse. That's it.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't that nimble then, was he?
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing.
Or they were nimbler.
Yes, indeed. So that's my second beer.
Nice. Feel free to crack that whenever you fancy.
Very kind. Thank you.
And we will move on to your new game. Oh, my beer. Did I talk about it? I did talk about it, didn't I? You talked about yours, Adam?
Mine.
You talk about yours then. Oh, yes, because we jumped around. Yes.
Yeah,
No one else was ready.
You and your own. Let's start clockwise and then fuck it.
I drink too quickly, obviously.
So it smells kind of like dark cherry, a little maltiness. It's only 5%, but it is a stout. So everything. The first thing is, I love the viscosity of a stout versus a lighter style beer because everything sort of clings to your whole palate, and you get to experience all those things in the different parts of your mouth. That's a very satisfying stout. The cherry is there in the beginning. And it comes with a bit of a sweetness, but so much of this is, I think in the flavor text, I can't remember, something about dark cherry, and it very much feels kind of like not a sweet cherry. It's not especially tart, and with the malts and the roastedness, you get this. You're getting some chocolatey overtones, which just makes it feel kind of like a dark chocolate covered cherry, and then take like a third of that, and have a swish of stout, and have just that little bit of sweetness, little bit of the cherry. Like the cherry is there. It just starts a bit cherryness, and everything just sort of fades away into more standard stout flavors. Did I say it? Yeah, so you can definitely tell it's barley in it. It's got that richness in the oats, and the barley really sort of front load those stouty flavors, for lack of a better term. I'm actually surprised that they said they added molasses, because I'm not getting a lot of sweetness, but maybe that's just to temper the tartness of the dark cherries, because it doesn't taste super tart like, dark cherries. So maybe that's just doing the back grunt work to bring the taste profile back to center. It's really the cherry, that whole taste curve is like 3 to 5 seconds, but then those roasted barley malty flavors, and then with a bit of that chocolateness, that finish is just real long. Like you can check the timing, it's been probably about 20 seconds, and I still can taste almost as strong as when the taste curve ended. Yeah, it's really, really gratifying. And also, again, because even though it's a 5% stout, because everything's clinging, everything, that viscosity sort of spread around my mouth. I'm feeling that taste from all areas, and so I'm just not feeling like I need to re-sup. Especially because I'm really enjoying that roasted maltiness with that slight cherry flavor still lingering, but again, very slight, almost gone. But I'm probably going to drink this much slower than the last one. Yeah. Unless the heat continues to be unbearable. In this case,
Anyway. Good. So now we'll move on to your new game, Sean and Dave. I'll let you intro it, and I'll let you give us a little bit of whatever the flavor text, the description would be for it.
Yeah, who's going to take it, Dave?
I don't know. I think I took the last one.
Yeah,
but
I can dive in. So the game's called Making It Home. It is a vehicle building game. You are building a vehicle with lots of a weird contraption to travel across America, and you happen to be a ladybug.
Aha.
And that's the game.
Did you say ladybug?
Yeah, I said ladybug because I need to keep telling myself to say that, because we started saying ladybird, and then we got lots of people really confused. so we were like, okay, forget it. We'll go with ladybug.
Oh,
I guess because you're traveling across.
who doesn't call it ladybird?
Yeah, if you say ladybird traveling across America, then that's like a weird.
Like a lady
clash.
bird.
Yeah.
That's people in America. Like, it's the States, dude. It's the States.
Yeah.
Americans say ladybug. We say ladybird.
I mean, Canada, we say ladybug as well.
Okay.
It's why I noticed, because I'm so used to doing that quick. They say ladybird. That my brain needs to hear ladybug, and then you say ladybug. My brain's like ladybug. Wait, what?
Yeah.
If you've ever wondered why no one's made a game with a ladybird/bug in it, like as the protagonist, this is kind of why. I think this is the reason.
The confusion on the internet. So, are you going to have like a UK version where if their region settings are UK, it just swaps bird and bug?
That sounds like a hard programming thing to do. To know.
No, sadly, it's majority rules. Most of the people that buy our games are in the States, so we have ruthlessly marketed the game to be Ladybug rather than Ladybird.
Gotta do it.
It's very cute, by the way. In the title page throw icon. I don't know what you call that thing. What do you call the splash image of a
the like hero art, I guess, the like box art
or logo, you know.
Yeah, that too. Logo
is
works.
a standard word that my brain was like, I don't know. I got ladybird and ladybug in my head. I've had no room for regular words now.
That's it. They've all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Continue telling us about this. Sorry, I hijacked you on the bird bug.
No, it's a really good question.
Yeah. You can take it from here, Dave?
Sure. So, yeah. So, as Sean said, the lady bird/bug is driving this marvelous contraption that you get to control and build as you play the game. The vehicle gets bigger and bigger as you go. And the main kind of drive of the story is that you're trying to get home in time for your daughter's birthday. That's kind of like the big thing. But as you meet kind of colourful characters along the way, you realise that not all is as it seems, and there's, as with a lot of Pillbug games, there's certainly something going on underneath that cute veneer. So yeah, and in the playable demo that's on Steam at the moment is also kind of pretty much exactly what we've been using in the beta, which is Act 1 of the story. So Sean and I are currently working hard on developing Act 2 of the story, and also the kind of the content, which we can dive into in a moment. But that's in the broad strokes. That's kind of what it's about. What a player will do.
Nice. I've got lots of little sort of detail points that I kind of want to touch on. I know. First, this vehicle, this contraption that the player is building, isn't kind of what I suppose most people would kind of consider a vehicle. It is quite a sort of it's more like a makeshift contraption made out of various different technologies, which obviously the player can choose from dependent on maybe what they like, how they want to sort of build things. You kind of have sails, which obviously pick up the wind. There's some sort of solar elements. There's various other elements that you have to put some kind of kinetic energy, I suppose, into. Do all of these different elements have an impact on the gameplay? So if I made a big vehicle with 20 sails on versus a few different other elements, is that going to make a big difference to how quickly I progress through the level?
So it is in a lot of ways you're kind of like you've picked on a point that we're currently kind of wrestling with ourselves. So we have so there's all sorts of different, we call them panels that you can use, and some of those panels create thrust. So like the sails, like you said, like wind catches the sails, you get thrust. solar panels generates electricity, which then powers electric engines, which create thrust. We've got water tanks that there are steam engines that need water, and that gives you thrust. There's like propellers that you spin, and that gives you thrust. And then there are bellows you jump on; those give you thrust. And then there's kind of some ways these all synergize with each other. And so a lot of the game is discovering those synergies.
Yeah.
Right.
But so like we as game designers want people to try and experiment with different things. And so there's a danger that people do what you said of like, and we've seen a few people do this, is like, we'll get the sales and like, I'm just going to build sales.
Right. More must be better. More.
Yeah. And so like our challenge as game designers has always been trying to like counter that. And we kind of thought about that a few different ways. Like, so one thing that's going on with the vehicle is that there is a whole bunch of physics acting on it.
Right.
So you've got things like drag. If you make the vehicle bigger, there's more drag and more weight. So at some point, those sails aren't going to overcome the additional weight of the sails. You're going to need something that can create more thrust to get a bit further, to overcome that increase in weight. And then it's all about like what options we even give you. So I think what we discovered early on was that what makes the game fun is actually giving players constraints and limiting their options. And like when you have a limited number of options, that's when you have to look for these synergies, because you can't just pick your kind of panel that you like.
Yeah, it's the danger of the sandbox being so open that you either have something akin to Netflix paralysis, where like, I don't know what the fuck to do. There's too many options, or you're just like, just watch this series again.
Yeah, and that's right. And I think we went through the development, went through a whole process of just how to structure those constraints. Initially, for instance, we were charging players money for those panels, so they had to kind of save up some of the money that they collect in game or through other means to buy the panels. And what we realized was that that was like a constraint level too far, because it affected too much of the players' enjoyment of the game. They would be like, well, I can't spend this on my vehicle. I have to save it for the panel that I might get in the next. Whereas if we say to the player, look, you're going to get a new panel every time you finish a level, but you're only going to get one, and you get to pick of a choice of three. Suddenly the players were like, well, I don't have to save with my money. I can spend, I can experiment, I can try things without feeling like I'm being punished by the constraints, but still working within something that didn't feel like total freedom, total sandbox.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
It's like, and then there's like, do you like make another character come in to like give a prodding text prompt of like, have you thought about doing X? And like, is that too much of a heavy-handed narrative? That must be really challenging once you like identify, some of our audience is just doing path B, which we didn't think was going to happen. How do we've got so many ways of trying to coax them. What's the best way that doesn't sort of change the experiment for path A people who didn't have this problem?
I mean, in a lot of ways, that is the entire game design problem of any game. That's like it's the number one thing you're trying to avoid, is to like have someone like I know it's a word Dave uses a lot, of like grok. This is like grok the one way of winning, and then like very quickly I'm just going to keep using this. I know this is the way, and that's it. And you're always trying to find ways of countering that. And in a lot of ways, so like we did it wrong. Like we made that we screwed that up with Cycle 28 actually. Like so we in Cycle 28 the you would unlock new upgrades by beating your high score.
Right.
And so what a lot of people found was, as soon as they knew that, they would just deliberately do bad things, score a bad score, and then get like, to kind of cheese the system.
Yeah.
And like I think we were kind of like, that was our second game, like, fair enough. We were kind of like, oh yeah, well, they're making the game less fun for themselves. But people will do that. People will make games less fun for themselves if there is an easier route. And so your job as a game designer is to protect players from themselves, to stop them making the game less fun for themselves. And so part of that is making it so that we don't even need to prod them to not just use sales.
I think that, I mean, what I'd add to that is that we totally understand that some section of our player base love the fact that they can cheese a system, and would happily grief any system that they get. And believe me, those players are fantastic for testing, because they are looking to break it. Yeah, exactly. They're looking to break stuff. That's what they enjoy that, and that's great. But that's you. Okay, yeah.
I mean, not to cheese it to win, but I really like trying to figure out ways of like, well, how do the game's doing this? But if I do this, what happens? It's mostly out of like boundary break type stuff, or like, okay, so what happens if you do this, rather than how do I when I'm doing the plot of games, I tend to just do the plot. But when I'm in a situation, I'm like, maybe I'll just try and hop and see if I can find a spot that lets me cheese off into the area I'm not supposed to.
Sure.
That type of thing. But yeah, anyway.
No, that I mean, and what the last thing that makes sense for any of our games, even something like Cycle 28, is to make decisions that somehow curb a player's creativity. That's the last thing that Sean and I want to do with our games. And this game certainly, we've made active choices. It's got a blueprint mode. You can exit back to the blueprint mode at any point during a run. Like it's you can go back and say like, oh, I balls, like I did up on stream yesterday. I ballsed up my floors and walls, which is something that we let players completely play with. And because you let them do that, they're going to balls things up. Like I just couldn't jump into an area that I needed to jump into, or I couldn't wash a solar panel because I didn't put a floor there, because it made sense with other parts of my vehicle, but completely ruined that particular panel. So, once players realize that we're giving them that kind of space and creativity, I think many of them will respond really positively to that. For us, the big issue is how do you communicate that there is that possibility of creativity? Gamers don't like heavy-handed tutorials anymore. They want to be able to discover things for themselves. Totally understand that. But so many people we've watched stream the game haven't realized that if they press escape, one of the options is go back to the blueprint mode. So they could, they're waiting to the end of like what can be quite a painful, torturous, couple of minutes, because they've not built their vehicle in the way they thought they were going. But they could have. So do you like put a big green arrow that says, oh, it doesn't look like your vehicle's working quite as you want it to here, you can go back and play with it? Or do you just kind of let players discover that for themselves? We're wrestling with that, I think, right now in a lot of small ways.
It's maybe sort of a question of something like accessibility, and having the option to be able to turn on hints or something, like that, perhaps. And accessibility is a huge thing at the moment, with lots of different games kind of bringing in various different sort of options. And I think it is a difficult balance to have, not to handhold too much, not to allow people to just blindly spend tons and tons of time playing in a very frustrating way when they could have been doing something slightly different. And it's got to be a very difficult area for you guys to go, this is when we actually need to step in.
When we introduced the blueprint mode, so we added a system of warnings. So when you design, you've got this blueprint mode where you do most of your design of your vehicle, and like we will put warning modes that say, hey, you've got an electric engine there, but you don't have anything that generates electricity, so it won't work. But that warning won't stop you from clicking start.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there might be some weird edge cases that you can get electricity, like that is, But then what we go as far as saying, like, if you try and make a vehicle that literally will not move, the game doesn't let you click drive. And that was where we found that was where we put the line of like, right, we don't want you to create a vehicle that then will not literally move like at all. So
because there's no situation in the game where that makes any sense. You just moving a tiny bit, that's fine if that's what the player deliberately wants to do. That's up to them. But there was that line in the sand for us.
People got to make sure they hit their optimal thrust and speed so they can get all of the coins. Like I when I was playing this, I'm like, oh no, I've missed some coins. Oh no, I've missed a big silver coin. Oh, I need all the coins. Like, I'm going too fast. I can't control it that quickly.
Initially, I feel silly admitting this, but initially I doubted the basic human drive to collect coins.
Capitalism, it's strange.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Like it's. I was like, there's so much other things going on that are linked to your vehicle needing to go quickly, and and universally people have chosen coins.
Yeah. To the point where we need to put less coins in because people are stressing the hell out about this, and like they're really, it's really. I think like we've fallen into the trap of like we've been playing this game for so long. We've got to the point of like, oh well, because we're so used to just managing the vehicle, we're like, that's like almost like boring is the wrong word, but we can do it without thinking. So we're like, okay, we need something to keep the player engaged. And so we just added another layer, and then that got to the point where we were okay with that. So we're like, oh yeah, we need another layer in here to add to get. And then like someone now has come at the game for the first time and is like, oh god, I need to get this coin, I need to get this balloon, I need to do this. And yeah, so that's what we're currently.
So I'm guessing
thinking about.
Some of that is like, when do we introduce these layers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
definitely.
The like spooling it out, but not making it seem like you're spooling it out.
Yeah, and
I like to be spool fed or spoon fed.
Yeah, and I like to think at the moment we've got our spoons in the right places that are kind of getting to the point where, because as I said earlier, the player gets a new panel at every stop, so there's something new to play with and try out. But if the background to that panel and the background to your vehicle was kind of always going to be the same, that would be the only level, I suppose, at which the game was operating. And but as Sean said, we're very careful that because the panels, in the vast majority of cases, especially in Act 1, require quite a lot of maintenance, and you've got to keep on top of it if you want to be as efficient as possible, as well as the coins, as well as the hazards that come at you. And then on top of that, the objectives of any particular run, of which, at least in Act 1, there's like one very specific tier of objectives, and then the others are largely based on the hazards or speed.
Right.
Which are, for Sean and I, are kind of like the base level stuff. But for anyone who's getting to the grips with the game for the first time, that's still a lot to take in. We realized, and this is a nice moment in design, is when you realize, yeah, actually there is enough going on here. Like, we don't have to keep kind of pushing this and pushing this and pushing this for the sake of it. And that means that we can also kind of move content and think about systems further down the line into the game in Acts 2 and 3, where the player has had 20 minutes, half an hour of gameplay at the very minimum, to get familiar with the systems, to realize they don't need to get every coin, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, nice. I have so many other questions about what I've experienced and kind of what's going on, but I realise we're sort of pressing time on this now. As we said, we'd be an hour. We've been a little bit over that. That's okay. And we'll definitely have you on before the game releases again to have another discussion about this. Two questions, I suppose. One which is very, maybe not easy to answer, but it's quite a short answer. Do you have a time frame currently for release? Is it this year? Is it maybe next year?
So we're going to release an early access in August.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that's early access. So there's 3 acts in the game. Basically, we want to launch the game when we think there's like the full price worth of content there.
Right.
And then we think that's 2/3 of the game. So we're going to get like 2/3 of the game done. And it's a building game, and I think building games, like, they benefit from early access. I think it's something we want to see what panels people are gelling with and what kind of systems people enjoy, and make more of those rather than just make stuff we like see what people are really gelling with. And
Again, that idea of that broader sample of people to work from as well. Yeah.
Yeah, early access is like crowdfunding QA beta, right? Like,
Yeah.
and people know that, and that's why it's okay to do that. And I think you're right, like, especially with complex mechanics where people are putting bits together, it makes more sense to see what are other people doing than the people we happen to have sort of in our spheres.
Yeah, absolutely.
My second question was, and this may not be built in yet, and it may not be something that you're going to do. The last game, I think actually Intelligent Design as well, there was some form of ARG involved in this as well, especially with Cycle 28. You know, the amount of time that people kind of put into getting to the bottom of this stuff, you know, looking in the world at various different things to figure out what was going on. Is there anything like that baked into this as well?
That's a really interesting question.
I thought it was about ladybugs, not KGBs.
Yeah. So how would I... At the moment, I think it's fair to say that we are enamored with that idea of kind of the insane levels of depth that ID and Cycle 28 had that was beyond their simple initial gameplay, and we love that about the way we kind of approach games and want to make games. Whether or not there will be the direct ARG aspect of, like, you know, the both Cycle 28 and ID had, that you have to get outside the game to fully grok what's going on with the story within it. I'm not so sure on this time around.
I think like one thing, like, as much as we love that stuff, obviously, there was an accessibility issue.
Sure.
Of like that a lot of people didn't see the story. Like, people really wanted to see the end of the story of Cycle 28, and only like a small percentage of people did. So I think we want to have something in there, because we always, like, we're not going to be able to stop ourselves, but it's like reining it in a little bit and having a bit more, that we want more, like, you know, half the people to figure it out rather than 0.5%.
And I also like the kind of approach a little bit more, that you do get a solid, clear ending, and this game is going to need it a little bit more than the other two, perhaps because of its narrative nature, as opposed to the other two. So you know, by the end of Act 3, kind of, you know, as long as you can, you know, achieve the objectives that you need to get to the end of the game, you will get an ending. But there will definitely be a very, very kind of different, isn't quite the right word, but certainly a more nuanced ending, that if you've gone to the levels that we're asking you to go to in terms of understanding what's going on in the story, but also the kind of nice, I like Adil's, sorry, for those of you who aren't watching, Adil's just letting his cat in, which is amazing. That is a hell of a cat. So yeah, there will be some similarly kind of something for you to delve into, a puzzle for you to explore, but it won't, I don't think, take you out of the game in the same way that Cycle 28 and ID.
Yeah. Still, I suppose at this point in time, there's lots of stuff you're both still exploring and trying to kind of wrestle with, and how that gels into the experience that you currently have, which is, you know, for it to get to that point in beta, you must be, you know, very happy with the kind of that base level of what you're trying to push, and maybe everything else has to fit around that, rather than trying to shoehorn it in some kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, funnily enough, like, it wasn't until we started really into the beta process that the game properly crystallized for Sean and I, and it really became this idea of, like this is a vehicle building game. It just, because it has elements of platforming in it, because you are the ladybug that's bouncing around this vehicle, and, you know, because of that, you need to, there is a degree of platforming skill. Like, I think there's a skill ceiling and a skill floor there for that side of the game. You know, that, funnily enough, kind of made it quite a complicated design process and just trying to understanding what the game was really about. Like, what was the core drive of the game? What was the core gameplay experience? What did people want to do with the game?
You can get so stuck in just kind of like the little details when you're building it. Like, you know, you'd spend ages just working out making that jump feel good. And like you lose sight of what the game really is, and you kind of maybe lose that. And so that it's when you get people playing and talking about it, then you're like, oh yeah, of course. Like, that is what we always wanted it to be. We just lost that vision at some point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So I hope that we can get you both back on closer to this early access launch towards August, because you'll have, you know, almost not quite twice as much, but you'll have that second act kind of prepared and sort of ready to go at that point, and maybe a fuller picture of what the end product or what the full product will be at that point. And all of these other questions I can just throw at you then, because things will probably work out as well. You know, with this being an ongoing thing, patches will be pushed out, so we'll see progress. And we've already seen some changes. You know, some of the early streams that you put out showing sort of the map, for example, which is now slightly different in how that's illustrated now on at least from what I played versus what I saw in sort of those early streams that you put out. So things are constantly changing, I imagine, for both of you, and it's quite a rush to get everything sort of changed and in. And
yeah. I mean, as people probably have understood from anything, if they've come across us before, or just kind of the tone of what we've been talking about tonight, this isn't something we do full time. You know, and it is a 2-person studio, so with the help of some fantastic freelancers. So yeah, like we are doing kind of as much as our day jobs led us on this project, and yeah, we're kind of happy with the timeline that as the Making Home has allowed us to take. You know, there's no denying this is a bigger game than Cycle 28 or Intelligent Design, like, and we felt that pretty drastically through development. So but you know, we did, when we set up Pillbug, we wanted, or at least when I joined Pillbug, our main conversation was it would be great to get a game out a year.
Yeah.
And with, you know, if we were making games the size of Cycle 28 and ID, that would be plausible. Like, you know, people do that kind of approach. But to do Making It Home justice as a project, it's just taken two years.
I mean, that seems fair.
Yeah. Still a lot quicker than lots of other, you know, games, even at this scale. And I think it's very commendable that you're kind of attempting something, you know, of that next step, of that next level, given that this is kind of like a part-time project almost. Part-time's sort of the wrong word to use, because it's not like you're only spending a couple of hours a week doing this. But that this is sort of extra to, you know, life and work and things like that, definitely. So and timescales must be, you know, a big thing, especially when once this has finished, you both go, what's the next step we can take? Well, that's going to take us 3 years to do. With every project, you kind of understand a little bit more how long things take to implement, how long it takes to get to that kind of finished product, whether you want to jump between early access or just releasing sort of a full product, and those sorts of things will always change, I guess, for you too.
Not to mention whether you remaster your previous games.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's the biggie. Like, as the catalog gets bigger, like even just like a real big.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I'm like every time but like, if I look at the code in the first game, like the code in Intelligent Design is like awful. Like I'm starting to teach games programming this year.
Oh, cool!
Which is super exciting, and like I'm really excited about it. But like in my first lecture, I show code from Intelligent Design and said, "This is why you should do this course, because look how bad that code is." Like that's really
smart, brave, and practical of you.
It's a ballsy move, isn't it?
As an educator, like more people need to do that type of thing because it's practical and it humanizes you, which means they might actually listen more. Anyway, I'll stop with the pedagogy. That's great. I'm really glad you're doing that.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll finish there then this week. We'll jump back to what we've drank. Dave, you opened your second beer. You've been drinking it.
I did. I had my Golden Champion with extra Field Mouse vibes, and it was very nice. It was very nice. That is the Golden Champion from Badger. I didn't give you the percentage before, but it's again a very soft, smooth 4.5. And actually, like this, almost as soon as I opened it, had a much stronger hit of barley for me, than the first beer, and that came wafting out right at me. So yeah, and a kind of a sharper flavor, definitely, but still very, very within my acceptable tolerances for my limited palate.
Do you have a preference from the two?
Yeah, God, that's asking me to choose between Cardiff and Dorset, which is a really toughie. But I would have to stick to my roots and say, actually, even though it is a bit more, maybe because of it's got a bit more going on, the Golden Champion wins the day for me.
Yeah, good. Sean, you don't have two to pick from, but with this, what was it? Hops? I did write it down.
Hop, skip, jump.
Yes,
was the name. And like what I'm thinking now is how this has been like really nice to drink the entire time, and it's been diluting and it still tastes good. And then like for me when I get it, like again I'm more of a cocktail guy, but for me like a good sign of a cocktail is one I can sit next to me while I'm gaming and like enjoy over a long period. So like an old fashioned is really nice because that's a long drink that kind of like slowly evolves as it dilutes. And you wouldn't think that a beer cocktail would do that, but it's still really tasty. It's different, like and also like what I like is the garnish is like a slice of orange. So as I was drinking it, the orange was coming in.
Yeah.
Because there's less liquid and it's sitting in there. So like it's now kind of like this bitterness, but obviously tastes like orange because there's a slice of orange there. But
nice.
It's super nice. Like I definitely like recommend trying beer cocktails.
Does the book that you got this from have several other beer cocktails?
No. This is the only beer cocktail in the book, which is annoying because I'd been up, going to try some more, but they're hard to find.
Yeah.
Make a Corona read them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me this week, two very, very similar beers. That Strata giving lots of kind of dankness towards the end of both of these beers. The track was nice. It flowed very well between the flavours, sweet to a little bit of bitterness and then through to dank. The pressure drop kind of presented everything all at once. A little bit more familiar flavours with the pressure drop, with that kind of grapefruit in there. But I think the pressure drop just picks it for me this week because whilst it presented everything in one go, it was really well balanced, and I would sip it and go, oh, this is going on, and sip it again and think, oh, actually, there's another layer to this, and then sip it a third time and think, actually, something else is happening here. And every time I had a sip, I'm thinking, how does the interplay between this work? This is really nice and this works well. The track kind of very, very well laid everything out, but every time I sipped, it was the same thing every time. It's kind of almost like to relate it to making it home in some sort of way. Going through a level, you can change things, you can go back to the blueprint stage, you can change what you're doing, and that's good. It's always good to be able to pick out better things, work out what you're doing, to pick the nuance between different combinations of things rather than just the same kind of thing every time.
Very nice
to have pulled this out more than I should have done. The pressure drop, I think, for me is the pick this week. Aadil, how about you?
So I quite liked the Desert Haze from Gipsy Hill. I liked that there was multiple hops. You could tell that they were doing different things. It had an interesting taste curve, but I think what the problem is the Schwarzwalder Cherry Stout by Stroud. Just sort of outclassed in the terms of the length of time in which you go through all the tastes. Like it was just because it took a little more time to do those things and had this lasting finish, which I know is kind of unfair from a stout versus a pale ale, but like it just did. The taste curves were probably similar, like the interplay, the number of tastes, etc. But it was just stretched over more time and more interesting because you could pay more attention. So they're both really good beers, but I think that it's the cherry stout this week because it just, by the end of the beer, I was still really enjoying what was going on between, while the end of the Desert Haze was kind of like, I get what's going on and I'm just having sips of beer.
Yeah.
And I'll always, when a beer can consistently challenge my palate, even when I sort of know what's coming, it's still like, oh yeah, that's happening. I'm going to enjoy it. It's sort of my dick.
Good.
That's that one.
Yeah. Nice. So if people want to get hold of you, Dave and Sean, how do they do so? How do they get hold of Pillbug? How do they play games with you? How do they get in touch with you and watch you stream stuff as well?
Are you looking at me? Okay.
Either one of you.
So, yeah, our website is at pillbug.zone, and you can find everything from there. And we stream every Tuesday at 8 British summertime, and twitch.tv/pillbugint. And we stream there, and we stream on YouTube and all sorts of places.
We're basically everywhere, but as Sean says, pillbug.zone is the easiest place to find everything that we do. And also check out Making It Home on Steam at the moment, where you can find the current free-to-download demo for Making It Home as part of the Steam Summer Festival.
Oh, right, yeah.
Nice. Do you know how long that's going on for? How long have people got to play that?
22nd.
Sean does.
Yeah, it's until the 22nd of June. Yes, so it's a week, just under a week now.
Nice. Good. Aadil, how do people get a hold of you?
They find me on all of the socials at the Omniarch, TheOmniarch, except Nintendo, because it's some random string of characters followed by following SW. And on Twitch, I am _Omniarch. But mostly, you could probably just find me at the Tanked Up Twitter or the OutOfLives.net website.
Nice.
Tanked Up Twitter is Tanked Up Cast at twitter.com.
It is.
Also on Instagram, same thing.
Yes. And obviously, you can look at go to Instagram, look at photos of our beers and screenshots of games we've been playing. You can converse with us on Twitter about what you're playing, beers that you're drinking. I'm at Nova_47 on almost everything, or at least everything that I own and I'm part of. You can get hold of me in that sort of way. If you want to play some games with me, I might delve into Battlefront 2.
I keep meaning... Oh, yeah. It came out on Steam, didn't it?
It did come out on Steam. Battlefield came out.
No, well. Battlefront 2 came... Yeah, they all came out.
They all
Everything
came out.
Because EA did their thing of Origin has proven itself to be not the thing we thought it was.
Did you see the Star Wars game, the X-Wing TIE Fighter game? It's coming out.
Yes. Yeah, Squadrons.
Oh, boy.
The real... I mean, I don't want to sidetrack us too much. So my real question is, how much X-Wing is it? And how much arcadey, Rogue Squadron, Battlefront 2 dogfighting is it? I loved X-Wing and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in that series growing up, but I kind of want it to be more Rogue Squadron /
in the trailer, she made a point of saying very loudly, "I'm putting up my shields," which I feel was a really big kind of nod. We were going to be doing a lot of putting up of shields.
But I think I'm fine with like resource management that way, but I mean like handling. Like I don't want it to be too. Oh, I wish I had a joystick, given that it's coming out on consoles. I mean, basically, that's the thing. Like X-Wing without a joystick was painful growing up. When you went to your friend's house and they had a joystick, like, oh, that's how this game's supposed to work. Cool. I wish I didn't buy it now. Yeah, you have a joystick? No, that's dumb. You have a keyboard and a mouse. But yeah, anyway.
a good point to finish on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you for tuning in your podcast player of choice. Remember, if you really want to, leave us a rating and a review in your podcast service of choice. You can probably do that over on Twitch and get involved with Pillbug as well. Chat to them whilst they're streaming, a variety of different games, plus making it home as well. That's it for us this week.
If you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell. God, there's too many platforms. We sound like assholes now.
Yeah.
I mean, we just say click happy internet buttons. That catches it.
You might have to steal that. And by we're gonna. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Do your own thing. Maybe chat to us. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net